board. Okay, you're good.
All right, so good afternoon. It's 5:05, and I'd like to open the August 3rd special meeting for the Park Recreation Community Education. And this meeting is being held virtually through Zoom. The town of Littleton began conducting remote participation Zoom meetings pursuant to Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law on March 19, 2020. Since that time, unanticipated legal concerns relating to the open meeting law had been brought to our attention by the town clerk. Those concerns were supported by the Attorney General's office and confirmed by town council. One concern is that the chat function allows a parallel text conversation to a board's public meeting. Chat is essentially running commentary that is occurring, but it is not moderated or followed by the chair. All participants and listeners may not be aware of comments being made because some meeting participants join by phone and do not see these conversations. Another concern is conversations between residents within the chat room which are not incorporated into the public record. In response to these concerns, the town will implement the following changes, which in no way prohibit any member of the public from participating in discussion and sharing information during a public meeting, and will ensure that all listeners and participants have equal access to this meeting. People that join the Zoom meeting are set so their microphones are muted. If you called in by phone, please use *6 to mute or unmute your phone. So that the meeting can occur in an orderly fashion, we ask the people who join keep their microphones on mute so background noises do not interfere with the meeting. If you wish to participate in the meeting, please use the raise your hand function, or if you called in by phone, dial *9, which will activate the raise your hand function. The meeting host will notify the chairperson of the raised hands, and the chairperson will determine whether and when to allow public comment. When called upon, participants should unmute, then state their name and address. After speaking, we request the participant return their microphone back to mute. Okay, so we're ready to go. Let me find the agenda.
Right up here on the screen.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at my other computer.
I got you.
Hang on, I got to get rid of this. I can't see it, too much stuff. Okay, so commissioner updates. Do we have any updates? Sean?
You got to call the meeting to order.
I think I did call it to order at the start. Then I read that stuff.
You did.
Okay.
Sean's on. There we go.
This is Sean. I have nothing.
Mike, you have any updates?
No, CPC have not met.
All right. Now we've got to go over 3 sets of minutes that were sent to us. Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I was busy all day, and they were just sent today, and I did not have a chance to review. Do we want to take time to review them?
So just as a point of clarification, on the last meeting, there was some confusion whether the minutes were from May or June 1st. So they are from June 1st. So you guys have reviewed those, and it was the joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen, the Park Commission, and the Board of Health, as well as the Board of Selectmen, the FinCom, and the Park Commission. And then the minutes are from the regular minutes from this past July meeting on the 14th.
All right. So why don't we take a minute? So the June 1st meeting minutes we did review then, and then we've got the 14th. Why don't we take?
Just review the 14th?
Yeah, let's just do that now. So we're doing it not doing it next week. It makes sense. I looked at them earlier, so I'm all set. So just Mike, when you're ready, let us know.
There's something about the Park and Commission reorganization.
Yep,
We tabled it.
you tabled it.
Oh, sorry,
That's
missed
the
that.
position in the,
Yep.
Yeah.
I missed that in bold. I'm ready. Are you, Sean?
I am ready.
All right, so do we have a motion to accept the minutes for
I
June
make a motion
1st?
to accept. Yep, I make a motion to accept the minutes for June 1st and the July 14th Park and Rec Commission meeting.
Do we have a second, Sean?
I second.
Did you guys hear that?
I thought you said yes.
All right, so motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Mike,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. The motion made, seconded, and approved unanimously.
okay. So now that you've got that, you guys are on to Park Commission reorganization, which that is, Kevin was not able to join us, unfortunately, due to a work issue. So that's up to you if you want to table it till August.
Yeah.
However, we do have some things that do require a chair, as well as the authorized signer for documents needs to get updated as well.
I'm fine with going with an interim, until we can get Kevin and ideally the fifth commissioner on board, right?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
I understand the need for those two positions. I would be fine with going with an interim until, Kevin can attend the next meeting and we can get the fifth commissioner on board, right?
Okay. We've never done an interim. I don't know if you can do that or not.
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not either.
Well, let's do this. Let's deal with the signer or whatever it is that you need, because that's currently Sean, correct?
That is currently Sean. That is correct. Yep.
So first, let's see if he's available to continue on in that position. Sean.
Yes, I have no problem continuing.
All right, so this is kind of weird because there's only three of us,
Yeah, I'm not even
and
sure.
we can't make a motion and second it. Well, I don't know. I mean, Sean can't nominate himself, and I don't think he can second the
That's
motion
fair.
Yeah.
which he's nominated. So I would make the suggestion that Mike's point is probably pretty valid for now. Is at least in that position, we'll just continue on in the vein we are, as
Yeah.
long as Sean's amenable to it, and we'll deal with it when we can actually have like a real vote.
Yeah.
That's fair. Could I ask for someone that would be willing to meet with myself and the finance team just to game plan for this fiscal year?
You could ask all you want.
When's this happening?
Hopefully this week. We have discussed either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
What time?
Don't know yet. Hasn't fully been set up.
Somewhere here is my calendar.
I have a tough time during the day, just with my job. You know, if it's in the evening, I'm more than willing to help. If somebody like Fred or Sean have a bit more flexibility for during the day, then that'd probably be where to go.
Have they given you any idea what time frame they're looking at?
I would imagine that it's probably in the day, since we're going to have like the finance director, the treasurer, probably the assistant town administrator.
But you've got, and you said it was, well, tomorrow would be out for me. Oh, I'm not even looking at the right freaking month, excuse me. Tomorrow would still be out for me. Wednesday and Thursday, I've got it. You can give me some times soon, like first thing in the morning or whatever. I can plan my day around them.
Okay.
This is Sean. I have some availability Thursday and Friday. It's going to be a virtual meeting.
Yes, it'll be a virtual meeting. Friday is not, I'm not available.
Okay. Well, if it's Thursday, I'm pretty flexible for Thursday.
Okay. So as
Yeah,
long as
now-
I can work out some representation from the Park Commission, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah. So, I mean, then I will find a way to make it happen on Wednesday if it does.
Okay.
And if Sean's available Thursday, we'll let him do it. And if he's tied up at whatever time they come up with, again, I can sort of move stuff around. So,
Thanks, Fred. Thanks, Sean.
I really don't like not having Sean on there. I always think he's just left. And so, all right. So we'll work it out. But the sooner you can figure out a time for us, and I keep forgetting everything's virtual, so I can just pull over and do something if need be. So.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So then you want to table the reorganization then?
Well, we sort of have to because we don't have people to.
I kind of
Theoretically.
tacked it on because I was hoping everybody would be here. So.
Yep.
Do we have you know, the 5th? How's that progressing along?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Diane. I know that they had a Board of Selectmen meeting where they talked about openings. I think Saul is on here, so I don't know if that was something he was interested or if he wanted to talk about that. That's up to you if you would like to let him speak. But I don't know. I don't have any update right now.
Okay.
Sure. If he's got something to say, let's bring him in, and then we can move on.
We'll grill him.
Good afternoon. This is Saul. Yeah, as far as
And perfect.
Oh, you muted yourself.
good afternoon.
Good
Hello.
I think Diane was collecting applications for open seats until last Friday. I had submitted one for this position, so, and I think the Board of Selectmen meeting on the 10th is when
I didn't catch that last part, Saul.
Yeah, you dropped out.
I think the Board of Selectmen meeting they're going to review them is on the 10th.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I would imagine Diane will give us that information for the park commissioners to review as well, because that's usually a joint meeting. But I have not heard anything about a request for a joint meeting on the 10th. So I will check in with the town administrator's office tomorrow and see if there's a request and need for that.
So we have a Park and Rec meeting on the 11th. Is there a way, if it's approved, on the 10th, that he can come to that meeting? Can we make
So
that?
the rule would be is that the individual has to be sworn in by Diane first before they can officially take the role as a commissioner.
Right. So he could hypothetically do that on the 11th, correct? And make the meeting?
Hypothetically, yep.
Okay.
I see no reason I couldn't do it, assuming that Diana's available, so.
That sounds good.
All right. Anything else on this?
No, so that if we're not going to do the reorganization, if it's tabled, then we have our executive session that we need to go into. You will have to vote to go into executive session. And then the one thing statement-wise is that we will not be coming back to public discussion, and we will adjourn upon the conclusion of the executive session.
Dan's, I see Dan is here. I think he might want to, say something before going to the executive session.
To the executive session? He can't.
No.
No, before we go in.
Well, to be honest, the true way this would work is he's not on the agenda. But since it's Dan and he's always pleasant when I've seen him, why don't we let him jump in?
Thank you.
Is he still there? There he is. See, look,
I'm here.
smiling again. His avatar or whatever is always a smile. Go ahead, Dan.
So, Dan Shuffrin, 156 Mill Road, president of Littleton Baseball and Softball. I had sent a note, which I don't know actually if it reached you all last week, because I'm not sure if there's an actual glitch, but on the town website, there's no way of actually contacting you guys directly. So I actually reached out to Mike Prue to get your email addresses, so I don't know if it went to you or not. But anyway, the question was posed to me around what are we going to do for fall sports, fall baseball in particular. We don't typically run a fall softball program. We have several years in a row done a fall baseball program at a few different ages, so 10U, 12U, and have done a Babe Ruth level. We planned on kind of doing that as sort of our first season under COVID. So you don't have the really young kids. These are all kind of older kids that can kind of adhere to the policies we put in place. In talking with Mike DePietro, he's running a few different teams at the Babe Ruth level. So this is all 13U and above. So kind of late middle school and into high school. And so we are going to direct all of our Littleton players over to his program. So it's going to be a league that Mike works in, but it's all the Littleton players will play through his team. He asked me about the availability of fields, and I said, well, I would at least ask you all what the requirements would be there. And I noted that, we have through town a per player fee for all of our players. And then I know that there was a discussion around fees to charge Mike for his players on his team. And it kind of depended on, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alicia, but I think it depended on what the percentage of Littleton versus non-Littleton players were on the roster. And so what I said to him was, I'm like, well, I know you're going to have now multiple teams because the plan is to have a 13U team, a combined 14U and 15U team, and then a high school age team. So this would be like, 16, 17, 18 years old. And depending on the interest, there are actually maybe multiple teams at each age level. So they would all be using the big diamond, by the way. So this is just the field at the high school. So it's not any of the fields behind Shaker Lane or behind Shattuck or anything like that. So what I said was, I'm like, well, let me pose a question to you all around the fee structure so that he knows kind of what the requirements would be. Because he has to obviously pass over that cost to anybody enrolling to, for what it actually costs him. I fully recognize that we have no idea who's going to sign up, if anybody. And so it could be 90% Littleton kids. It could be 30% Littleton kids. I really don't know. I'm not sure what the interest is going to be at that level. He's got enough people interested across multiple towns to form teams, so that's not really an issue. But it's more of the not knowing a priori what that percentage makeup of the teams would be from Littleton. And so what I had posed in the email to you is I said, maybe just to provide some assurance of cost to him, but also assurance to revenue for the town, is to say, hey, look, why don't we just, I proposed having a flat fee structure and just say, hey, $15 per participant, regardless of where they come from, for these teams. That way he can kind of send it out. I can get as many kids from Littleton to sign up as possible. And it doesn't end up being like, okay, it's whatever, $30 per player. And it ends up being 90% from Littleton. And then now we're just charging Littleton players extra money just because we didn't know how many were going to come from the town. So that was what I was hoping to get you guys to provide some feedback. I don't need an answer right now. This is something I just want you guys to deliberate or reach a decision on, just so we can kind of shore that up. And then if that's something that we can reach agreement on with Mike, then we can say, all right, then we're going to want to reserve the fields for, these dates, et cetera, and then move forward with the planning of a fall season. So that was it.
So Dan, I have a question. Is this
Sure.
Something separate than the Mariners?
It's not the Mariners. The Mariners are a separate, it's like the high school age summer program that he runs in a different league. So this is something else. This is just, we have typically, from just LYBS, we've typically played a fall season where I've entered a team from Littleton. Actually, I've even pulled some kids in from Harvard, but to fill out the roster in a Westford league. It's not competitive at all. Whereas Mike actually has a spot in a league. I think it's more Central Mass located. But he wants to try to pull in the kids that I was using for this non-competitive league into a more competitive league to try to get these kids ready for middle school or high school ball. So it's switching leagues that we play in, but it's the same kids. It'd still be through LYBS. It's not going to be Mike has a team that we're just going to send, do tryouts and have a couple of kids. It's anybody who wants to sign up. It's just like we normally do. He's just going to be providing the coaching as opposed to LYBS.
So just the clarification. So the Park Commission's policy for field usage is that it's 75% Littleton residents. That's that I guess area where the fee flips. So if it's 75% Littleton residents, then it would be $15 per person per season. And then if it is under the 75% Littleton residents, then that's what it would be at the $35 per person per season. So just a clarification, that's the Park Commission policy on field usage. I'm trying to think. When we do the invoices, we try to get the information ahead of time, but the reality is we don't really know until it's kind of one of those after the fact type of things. So, if he has the 75% Littleton residents, then, it would be the $15 fee. But if it's not, if you can't meet that, then that would be the $35 per person. And I realize you're trying to get something figured out as far as like budgeting goes. But that's, just clarifying the policy, and the policy decisions are up to the Park Commission, not me. But that's the clarification.
Right. And so thank you, Alicia. That's exactly why I went to the commission and said, hey, look, this is somebody. So one, it's what we're doing for LYBS, right? So I want to try to minimize the cost to all of our players from town. I just don't know how many players they're going to be. But this is an opportunity to offer them a way to play if they're interested. And it's an opportunity, of course, to provide some additional revenue to the town where there just wouldn't be any. So that's why I was saying, like, I understand I didn't know the exact details, but I understand that that's the current policy. And I'm saying, do you have the authority as the commission to say, okay, that's the typical policy, but in this case, you can make an exemption. I don't know what the number would be. Maybe it's $20 per player, $25. I don't know what it is, but is there a way of saying, like, without knowing the exact percentage breakdown between Littleton players versus non-Littleton players, can we say ahead of time that this is what we'll charge the fee structure just for this fall? That way he can send out the registration requirements and fees to all the players wanting to register before you do the post hoc analysis of, okay, we had a 72% roster made up of Littleton. Sorry, you now have to owe $20 more per player, et cetera. So Fred, Mike, that was the ask. I'm not saying make a decision now, but I wanted you to consider it and then just let me know what your process is timing. If there's a no, we can't consider it, okay, that's an answer. If it's we'll talk about it and have another discussion at some subsequent meeting and it's such and such a date, that's fine too. Just want to know how to get back to Mike on this. Yeah. And what to tell my families that are looking to register.
Yeah, I'll be frank. I mean, on one end, you know, I want to give kids from Littleton a chance to play. I wouldn't want to be an impediment there, you know, certainly financially. I have to admit it for me, it would have been great to have Mike show up to this meeting, especially after the tone of the emails that he sent out, you know, to Alicia. You know, that to me, I think would have said something. So I'll certainly hear what the other commissioners have to say.
Michael, just on that, I did mention it to him earlier today. He's actually coaching a game in Fitchburg tonight. Otherwise, he would have joined in. As to prior emails, I can't really speak to those. I wasn't really a part of those, and I recognize the timing is probably not ideal for this. But you know, for me, because we struggle with coaches at the older age groups. It's hard for us to put on a program because I've been the one coaching that team for the last several seasons, but now I have boys that would span different age groups, so I can't coach both teams. So I looked at this as a way of saying, like, well, he's already in a league, he has the infrastructure to support it, which is why we went with that. So it's apart from the Littleton Mariners that Alicia was referring to, which I think caused the whole hubbub over the last few weeks. So I don't want to necessarily get kind of lumped in with any of the issues that was created. Well, I recognize that it could appear that way, but it really, in my mind, it's completely independent of that.
You're on mute.
I think you're on mute.
Still in there. No, I know. You didn't. Believe me, I had some other comments I was making to myself there. I'm glad you brought this up. I think I personally am not prepared to discuss this now, and I don't think Sean probably isn't either. But it's something we can put on the agenda for the next meeting and sort of go into it prepared to talk about it. I think because it would probably be a fairly lengthy discussion now when we really need to get to this executive session and get that stuff squared away. So, you know, if you did send something out and I remember seeing it and then it just disappeared among my hundreds of emails. But yeah, Alicia, you want to put this on the agenda for the next meeting and then
Sure.
we'll, we can cover it, in a timely manner. And Sean, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, if that can get, if the email didn't come through, if that can get, the email can get forwarded, just so we have all the particulars, I'd like to, you know, look at it so we could have some time to kind of gather my thoughts and before we, you know, before we have the next meeting when it's on the agenda. But I'm certainly open to reading it and hearing, you know, hear a lot of your concerns, but I'm not ready to discuss it right now.
Yeah, right. which is totally fine. Just one other thing, as you guys prepare for that discussion, I don't know when the next meeting is. If there's any questions, sorry, when is it, Mike? The 11th.
Yeah.
If there's any questions that you have or like information you want me to provide or bring to that meeting, just let me know so that I can have it for you and as part of that next discussion.
Okay. All right, we'll make sure if we've got anything, we'll reach out to you. So,
okay.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you.
I'll pass on that email to all the commissioners, and I will put you on the agenda, Dan, for the next meeting.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks,
Yep.
Dan.
Thanks,
All right.
Dan.
Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
This
I
is
make a
Sean.
mo-
I make a motion to go to executive session.
Do we have a
I second
second?
it. Second.
All in favor? Mike,
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
I'm yes as well. So the motion's been made and seconded, and we're now. Are we not? We're not in executive session
We're
yet.
not,
So
because Saul has to leave, and then we'll stop the recording.
okay, and we will not be coming back from executive session. We'll be moving to adjourn directly from there.
I just removed Saul.
Oh, thank you. So will you stop the recording for me, Tim, please?
Give me 1 second.
Thank you, sir.